You got to be okay with conflict. You can't avoid conflict. You can't avoid it. And I think as humans at times, we like to avoid it. But I think guys, whether they want to admit it or not, they want structure. They want a plan. Like that's why they're here. So I think you have to be okay with that. There's an old quote that says, like either you're coaching it or allowing it to happen. And I talk about that every day with our staff.
Welcome to the JAMODI Podcast. Today we're joined by the head men's basketball coach at Navarro College, Grant Mcmillan. A native of Van, Texas, where he won the 3A state championship in 2005, Coach McMillan is starting his 7th season leading the Bulldogs, where he's built a winning culture with multiple Region 14 tournament runs and a reputation for sending players to the next level. Before Navarro, he led Panola College to 93 wins, back-to-back championship game appearances, and their first national tournament berth in decades. His coaching journey also includes stops at Northwest Florida's Howard College, Independence, TCU, and Texas A&M. Known for developing talent on the court and character off of it, Coach McMillan continues to grow one of the most respected JUCO programs in the country. Before we hear from Coach, take a moment to subscribe to our podcast and follow us on social media at JAMODI Podcast.
Coaches and athletic directors, our sponsor Scoreboard Media has an incredible opportunity for your school. Right now, they're giving away 2 large LED video scoreboards, $152,000 value per school, to 32 select high schools across the country. Scoreboard Media pays for the boards, the software racks, and iPad controllers, as well as the delivery and installation. On top of that, they'll run the entire advertising program, generating a significant revenue sharing opportunity for the school. Since 2021, Scoreboard Media has been helping high schools upgrade their gyms and execute professional sponsorship programs. Not every school qualifies, and they're signing up new schools every week. So inventory is moving fast, and the install calendar is filling up for the summer. If you're interested, reach out to Scoreboard Media founder Charlie Megan at charlie@scoreboardmedia.com to set up a call and see if there's a fit.
How's your summer going?
It's going good, man. We have one kid right now that's here on campus. So he just got here. So it's just one guy, but just trying to gear up, trying to improve, trying to learn, and just trying to get ready for the grind that's coming up because it'll be here.
When will most of your players show up?
Around August the 20th or so.
Okay.
Last year we had we had 13 brand new players, which I had not had since year one as a head coach at Panola a long time ago. So it's great to have a few returns this year. So it's going to be a lot easier than it was last year.
That is nice. That is nice. And there's a lot of coaches at the D1 level that don't have any returners. And so let me ask you this. Do you find that maybe junior college coaches are even more suited or they can adapt easier to the new landscape of college basketball? Because it kind of sounds like you've been doing that for years already.
I think junior college coaches are extremely well prepared for this.
Yeah.
It's not anything, for us. And I think too, even for our level, I think retention is more important than recruiting anymore. It sounds crazy to say, but that's kind of how it's changed a little bit. Like it's a lot easier to recruit. It's harder to keep. Like that had changed a whole lot in the past 2 years. But yeah, I mean, for us, it's just like business as usual. I mean, it's not anything difficult, but it's just it's just our level, it is transient. It's new. So me having 5 kids back that played key minutes last year is unusual. I don't know if I'm going to ever have that again in my career. So I'm trying to enjoy it, but it's just a lot easier because, you got to think about it. We get here August the 20th and we get right to work. We start playing scrimmages early October. So you really have to prioritize your time and really be organized about how you're going to teach. And because it's a quick turnaround. And I mean, the more I've been doing this, just the more I think it's important, especially for high school players, to just, work June and July at home. That's so important, man. It's so important. And we see it every year with guys that have worked hard at home after graduation. And there's a few that just haven't, and just puts them behind, and it slows down their transition. It just does. So I think that's hugely important.
Great reminder for players right there. As a father of a soon-to-be freshman in college, Landon's going to play down at Trinity in San Antonio. You think sometimes that like as a high school kid, okay, I'm going to work all the way through, and then when graduation's done, I'll have a little bit of time to relax. But that's actually the time where you probably need to double up on your training and you need to prepare. And I've tried to tell him and other players that jump from high school to college, that's unlike eighth grade to ninth grade, freshman to JV, JV to varsity. It's so different. So you better be working to be prepared.
Yeah, I mean, you hit the nail on the head. There's always a transition. I don't care who you are. I don't care what league you played in, what your accolades are. There's always a transition, and you trying to prepare and stuff prior to getting here, is key. It just is, and I see it every single year where it is crystal clear who has picked up a ball at home and who hasn't. And so you got to think about high school graduation. Most years end in early March. So you got to think about it. If you're graduating, are you doing the off season program? Or you just kind of out and join your last year of high school? I think it puts you behind even more. So I wish I could bring all of our guys here in June, July. I can't. We have to be like kind of, we have to choose with that. But still, I mean, it's key, man. It's really, really key. So that's good that you're telling them that. It's going to help them.
I like your point about retention over recruiting now. And because for me, as just a high school coach, I think I would have looked at it as the opposite of since you're not going to keep them, man, get out there and find players. And that's the most important thing. But I love that idea of once you have them there, then let's do our very, very best to keep them there. What are some of the things that you feel like you've done to, like you said, you have 5 players coming back, which the Baylor men's program has 0 from last year's team. So what are some things that you've done to make your place the place where they want to be and stay?
I mean, I think one, our league really helps. Our league is one of the best junior college leagues in the country. Our guys that play here as freshmen know that they see their teammates get recruited. They see players that they played against get recruited. Like, so that obviously, last year we had 3 teams in our league play in the Elite Eight. So, and we were kind of on that next group under, and I think we could have done the same thing. I think a few others could as well. So our league's huge with that. Just because year in year out, it's really strong. It's really deep. And then here, our program, I mean, our kids get 24-hour access to the gym. We have a great gym here. I mean, like everything in it is relatively 3 years old. I mean, like, for the building itself. So it's an unbelievable facility. It's a great place to work on your craft and improve. It's 100-yard walk from the dorms. So I think it's a mixture between our league and just how our place is. And I think, how we do things. I think, as a junior college coach, I think that, yes, we all want to win games, including me. But I think the most important part is where do your kids go? And I think junior colleges should be graded on that. And where do your kids go? Number one. And two, what are their grades and do they graduate? I think that's the 2 most important things for any junior college program. And I think our guys know that we have done that well. We've done that pretty well. So here's the roadmap on how to do things. If I do it, I'm going to be okay. So I think that's a big part of it. And I think you have to care. I think you have to be invested. I don't think you can be the head coach that just is hanging out swings in right before practice and, leaves after it's over and goes home. I mean, in today's world, you better have relationships with your players and they better be real because they can, like, it's easy to tell if you're not. It's easy to snip out. So I think that's the keys that we try and do every single year is have real relationships with our players.
I like that list that you created because I was thinking about would there be a difference or wondering would there be a difference between your list of why players stay and then my list? Because as much as there's movement in the college world, there's movement in high school as well. And so now being at
Right.
Midway High School in Waco, Texas, my thought is, okay, why should a kid stay at Midway? Well, and while you're saying those things, I was kind of jotting them down and almost like a check of what I would tell a parent or a player is one, we're going to play against really good competition at the 6A level, right in Central Texas and in the district that we're in and the tournaments we're going to play, they're going to be pushed. The 24-hour access, I just wrote down development. They have to feel like this is a place where, as a player, they're going to get better. And then the third thing, for you, it's where they go. Maybe for me, if I have guys that have aspirations to play, but then you nailed the academics piece. Is our school a place where academically you're going to be pushed? Man, I think we can check off all those boxes just like that list that you created, and I think that's really good for us to explain to our players. If we wanna make this the big time, make this the place to be, I think we have to have those answers why, and then you nailed it. It actually has to be there. It has to exist, because if it's just words, they're gonna sniff that out real quick.
Absolutely. They're going to tell from day one. So I think over the past few years, it has really changed. Like I mentioned earlier, it's all about trying to keep them instead of recruiting. And, that's something that I have for sure seen change being a head coach for like 11 years. And it's just slowly changed that way. And because, as you said, it's right now, it's kind of cool to transfer sometimes. So, but you could have an ideal place that you're at. And I mean, you have to let those guys know that. You have to talk to the parents, you have to talk to the high school coaches, you have to talk to the handlers. Like, you got to talk to them every single week and try to develop that relationship. And that's what's changed a lot.
There used to be this feeling of your older players would own the culture themselves and almost like, torch bearers, they pass it on to those players coming up. So many programs now are starting new each year. And you mentioned that's an extreme amount of time from August to October to get yeah, to late August to get your language, the way that you train, let alone the way that you actually wanna play on both ends of the floor, sprinkling some skill work, and then, "Oh, yeah, by the way, culture is really important, and we wanna grow that too." For somebody like me that is starting at a new place, or some of those coaches that look around and see, like, there's just nobody from the year before. Coach, how do you do that in such a short amount of time?
And then throwing in the fact that, schools can swing through our gym on the 12th of September. And so you want to get your kids recruited as well. I mean, we're going to have 80 schools that are going to swing through our gym in the month of October, September. We just are. So you want to make sure that your kids get seen. I mean, schools are not driving down here like to watch me teach closeouts. They're just not. They're coming down to watch your guy play.
Guys, listen, we're gonna chop our feet and we're gonna do this for 10 minutes. All right.
And I'm a great defensive coach, but I promise you, they're not doing that. So,
Coach, let me ask you, hockey stop or choppy feet? What do you teach?
I teach it like you're riding a horse and you're pulling on reins. That's how we describe it. So
Weight back. Yeah.
pulling reins, sprint to get there, high hands. We don't emphasize chop per se, but it's like pulling up on a horse, and doing that. So,
I like
and
that. So keep going. Sorry.
I mean, if you're watching a kid down here, like, you don't want to watch me to teach that. So how we try to do it is, too, I think you also have to put in there, I mean, like, attention span as well. I mean, these guys, I've seen it change where, 3-hour practices are not happening much anymore. They just aren't. So we do it in the fact that, we do a lot of skill work because, I don't have a lot of time like to change like a wing into like a point guard or anything like that. But we try to work on the players' weaknesses, identify what those are, and then try to drill them. And so how we do it is we just do half an hour skill work, which is really intense. I mean, it's just full speed. You're sweating. It's hard. And then we try to incorporate one technique, but whether it's like offense against air or it's, three on 3-on-0 or 3-on-3, 4-on-3 contest. And then we play and we play a lot of controlled pickup. I'm a huge believer in that because two, you also have to create some chemistry with your guys. And that's what nobody talks about. These guys have not played with each other for 3 straight years. They're all new. So we do a lot of controlled games for our strength conditioning, for all that, because I mean, our guys have to learn how to play with each other. They just do. So we do rules in our games where, you know, I mean, like offensive rebounds +1, or, a corner three is worth 4 points,
I
just
like that. Yeah.
do some different things like to, just to keep it fresh, but you're still conditioning. You're playing up and down. And like any time that the pace changes and it kind of turns into just trotting and jogging, then we quit. We stop it because our deal's about pace. That's what it's always been. And so, I just think you can kind of trick kids into conditioning and the fact that, you're actually playing games instead of just being on the, line and just sprinting and doing sprints. So, we play in the fall. I mean, I don't even know the number on it. I mean, we play a ton of pickup. We tape it, we record it. Um, we do their percentages each week. So if you're 3 for 12 from three in a week, you're going to know that, and we chart that all through the preseason and just try to improve it throughout the year, but also try to teach, hey, you're taking some bad shots. That's why you're shooting 21% from three. You're a lot better 3-point shooter than that, but you're taking some bad ones. So I feel like we've done a great job in the past 2 years. That's pretty new. I just started doing that 3 years ago. But I mean, we record everything and we chart it, stat it, and we make it no. I mean, we put it on the board in the locker room. So everybody knows. Everybody knows. Can't hide from it. It's right there every day. You see it.
3 things there. The first question I think is, you have so many schools that are going to be coming in. Are you creating a workout or practice plan every day that will work not only for your program and what you have to achieve, but also for those coaches if they come in? Or if you have your plan and then you find out, okay, a couple guys are coming in, we got to scrap some things and add a little bit more of this. How do you kind of flow with that?
Yeah. I mean, I'll adjust if I have to. I mean, the number one part for our place and for our level is you have to move on. So our guys can't play here forever. And like I mentioned earlier, I think that's the most important part of a program is where do your kids go? Where do they transfer to? In order to do that, they have to get seen. So we do have a plan, but I think also, you can alter that if you need to. One thing, if you come in our gym like to recruit, you're always going to see us play live. Always. Always. I don't care if it's like one day before a game the school comes in. I have a responsibility like to get these guys recruited. And the more looks that you can get, like the more it helps. So you've heard horror stories of schools where a school will fly in and they'll do closeouts and 3-man weave and 5-on-0, and that's it. Well, it's hard to get an evaluation with a player if that's what you're doing. So I don't have the correct answer for it. I just know how we do it, and you're going to see our kids play a whole lot to come down here in the preseason.
Appreciate you saying that you don't have the correct answer, but in my opinion, yours is the correct one. I feel like I heard years ago from a parent, former player's parent, who had an older brother playing at another school, and a college came in. This was at a high school, came in to watch him, and it was a weight room day or track day, and they still had him go out and run on the track all period long while the coach was there. And I just made a note of that. Of I'm going to allow myself to have the flexibility that if a coach comes to Grapevine Faith, comes to Midway High School to watch one of our players, hey, forget what we're doing. We can teach those things in the future. Let's be where our feet are and let's highlight. Now, I've been more on the individual skill work, the ball in their hand, a lot of different things, showcasing that with their shot, how they train. But I love your idea of some type of live play. I don't think I've necessarily done that in the past where, man, that's probably what they want to see the most is, yeah, a little bit of handle, a little bit of shooting. But after 30 minutes of skill work, okay, let's do something else. Let's watch them compete. Let's watch how good of a teammate they are because we thought we saw it during the summer with their select team, but now with their school team, when coach is talking, what do they look like? How do they help the gym run? Man, coach, I think that's a really good nugget.
And we're coaching them through the pickup game. So I'm not just in a chair, like we'll
Sure.
try.
But I think it could be 3-on-3. It could be small sided. It could be any type of maybe you still work on a piece of your offense that you wanted to install. But like you said, using those different constraints, hey, you can only score on defense by getting a stop today, right? There's a lot of ways to do it.
Or one thing that we do a lot, like you got to end the
Say that
game,
again.
a score, stop, score. Is what you got to do,
Yeah. Yeah.
and then hit a free throw to win it. Like we do different things just to
Yeah.
try to spice it up. And as a coach, like you also have to say, hey, there's going to be some times it's going to look ugly. It's going to look ugly, but you also got to remember, you only had him there for 3 or 4 weeks, so let's try to grade, and let's try to look at just the things that we have taught and reviewed. And it's going to look ugly. There's going to be a lot of turnovers. The ball is going to be going everywhere, but still, you're letting your kids actually get seen and evaluated. And at the end of the day, that's why they're here. That's why they're here. They're here to move on. And that's the most important part of our program. And I think, really, for any junior college program, I think that should be at the top of the pillar.
Love the idea too of controlled pickup not only for chemistry, but for strength and conditioning. And I think that's a great point. I think you're right on the money. I think running to run is overrated because you can run, straight trips up and down. We're going to do 6 down and backs in 60 seconds. Like whatever you want to do. Yes, it'll get them tired. You can go sideline to sideline. I've done that before. But coach, nothing gets them in shape like playing does because of all the different types of stops and starts and changes. And so I think another reason why we should have more live play and full court games is for that strength and conditioning. Let's take just the running out. And that's just my opinion.
I agree completely. I agree. And I mean, we still run to create some toughness and stuff like that. But at
Nothing
the
wrong
end,
with that.
I mean, like I said, our guys get here late August and we start playing scrimmages in October. Game one is early November. Like, you don't have a lot of time. I mean, we can't do 1 week of conditioning without a ball. I mean, I wish we could, but I mean, we got to play and we got to get to know each other and all that. And I mean, it's at a pace now. I mean, you have a bar that you're trying to reach. If it's not quite as quick that day, or they're slower, or sluggish, or in a mood or something, we will scrap it, and we'll just run. And they know that. Usually when that happens once, it doesn't usually happen again because they kind of know.
Yeah. When you talked about recording everything, the live play that you're recording, statting, watching over, is that always with coaches directing and a part of it? Or is that even open gym style of pickup where guys are just getting together to play? Are you recording that also?
Well, we record anytime that we're in the gym teaching.
Okay.
So
Okay.
So like, I mean, for like, we'll play, this could be way out. We play, let's say, 40 games a week in pickup. Okay. We will record all those. And that's where we get the stats from those games. Um, you know, we don't record individuals or, 5-on-0 or anything like that. We just do it when it's played because, like I think from our experience, guys will truly believe you if you record it. They will. And you have to tell them that, because, you can't hide from the film. And the film doesn't lie. Jim doesn't
Yep.
lie. So, you can say, oh, coach, I didn't go, 3 for 20 from three this week. Yeah, you did. Here's where it is. It's right here. So I've used it as like a teaching tool. And I think too, it, creates habits that kind of carry over. So when you start playing real games in November, you've kind of already talked about what's a good shot, what's a bad shot, and all that, and they kind of know. And hey, buddy, I mean, you want to shoot threes? That's great. Well, I mean, you're 3 for 28 in the month of October. Like that's going to be hard to do. So I thought it's really helped us the last 3 years. I think it's really kind of sped up the teaching process with it. It's gotten us ahead, and it's kind of created just some ownership with it early on.
Been in the college world since really 2006, TCU as a student assistant. So almost 20 years of experience. You've probably been around a lot of great coaches and leaders. What are a few characteristics of a great coach that you've seen?
I think for me, I mean, I've been extremely blessed in my career, like to work for some really good guys and just completely different people, personalities, strengths, weaknesses, and like a lot of them are completely different, but they all are usually really good at one thing. Jim Christian at TCU was an unbelievable offensive coach. Spacing, passing, skill development was top notch. He was an unbelievable offensive coach. Going to Howard Junior College, working for Mark Adams, who I think is the best coach in the history of junior college. Coach is an unbelievable guy on the defensive end of the floor, and he creates a culture of playing hard. You know, Steve DeMayo at Northwest Florida is an unbelievable. He relates to players, grows that relationship with them, and creates huge amounts of just love with his team. They're close. So I think with that, I think just a few things like that I've kind of observed with all the people that I've worked for is one, you got to be okay with conflict. You can't avoid conflict. You can't avoid it. And I think as humans at times, we like to avoid it. But I think guys, whether they want to admit it or not, they want structure. They want a plan. Like that's why they're here. And so I think you have to be okay with that. There's an old quote that says, like either you're coaching it or allowing it to happen. And I talk about that every day with our staff. I'm either coaching it or allowing it to happen. So, I mean, you have to be okay with conflict, too. And I think either you kind of have this or you don't. You have to have emotional intelligence. You got to be able to read your team and kind of read the situation. If you're amped up all the time on edge, I don't think your team's going to play great with that. So I think you have to be able to kind of identify what the pulse is of your team. What's the time of year with it? When do I really turn it on and off? We try to be a lot stricter early just so they kind of understand what the expectation is. So it's a lot harder early and then they kind of understand, how we play. And then three, I think you got to be able to communicate. I think you got to have relationships. I think that's especially in today's world. You hear people say like you can't, you can't coach the way that you used to. That's not really true, in my opinion. Like I think you can still challenge them. I think they want that, but you got to have relationships with them, man. You can't just act that because they'll know. So I think communication is big. Trying to talk to your players almost every day, whether it's about life or basketball. It really doesn't matter. So that's really three things that I've kind of learned in my career. There's a whole lot more, but that's kind of the three things at the top.
No doubt there's a ton more, but I like that list of 3. But it's something you said early on, I jotted down here about being really good at one thing, and I wrote down identity. I think Rick Torbett said it takes 10 years to figure out what kind of coach or who you're gonna be as a coach, and not that you arrive at 10 years, you're still learning even after that, but at least then you have a little bit of identity of, "Okay, here's the thing that I'm very confident in and I can hang my hat on," and then when you know that, then you can hire assistants to fill in the gaps other ways in other places. To me, I'm an offensive-minded coach. That's what I focus on. If I had it my way, I would never do shell drill ever again, and I never do a blockout drill ever again. But I know that they're necessary. And even in games, I'm more of the D'Antoni mindset of when things aren't going well, we're going to play faster. And when things aren't going well after that, we're going to shoot more threes. And so, but I need guys around that will focus on and can watch other things. And so, a little bit, we may get into giving up responsibilities to assistants. I think that's maybe one way is know your identity, know the one thing that you're really, really good at and that you focus on so you can maximize that, but then hire other good people. The other question was is the conflict piece. I think that is hard. And I do know myself and there's other coaches that at times don't want to be the one that's searching for it or seeing conflict or dealing with it. What's your advice to coaches that may be not shying away from it, but turning a little bit of a blind eye to things that they need to confront?
Yeah, I think the two things that are important. I think one, you as a coach, you have to pick what's important to you, and it could be completely different than what your old head coach was. You don't try
Yeah.
to be you try to be you. At the same time, you have to let a few things roll off your back because they're not going to be perfect. They're kids, they're younger, they're still developing. This is a big transition, like we talked about. If you worry about everything, you're going to drive yourself crazy and your team's going to play tight, in my opinion. So, as a coach, I think you got to pick 3 to 4 things that you really want to emphasize, and you're not going to bend on those things. It's the core of your program, it's the structure of your program, and that's who you are. And then on the rest of everything else, just trying to teach it and trying to mention it. I think a big part of our job as junior college coaches is I want our guys, when they transfer to that higher level, I want them to be prepared that, hey, this is how we do things here. And it's not a culture shock. So I like to tell our guys in recruiting and throughout the year for that matter, hey, we're going to run our program like a 4-year program. Even though it's junior college, it's a 4-year program. And I have a huge responsibility with that because I want you to have a chance at the next level. So here's how they do it at the higher level. Here's how we're going to do things. Small things like being on time, wearing your practice gear, treatment with the trainer, all that stuff that at the next level, like they already anticipate their kids to know that. And I think it's almost criminal if you don't prepare your kids that way. Like, I think it's a complete disservice, in coaching, teaching, not trying to prep them for that higher level. So I think to answer your question, I think you have to choose a few things that you're not going to, are hugely important to you. And you're going to try to hammer those home every day. And then you're going to let a few other things kind of slide off your back at the same time. You have to have a relationship with your players so you can bring them in and you can talk about those other stuff. But if you try to control every little thing, it's impossible. And it's really going to hurt the product, in my opinion. It's going to hurt your mental health. It's going to hurt your teams and everything like that. So I think choosing a few things is the way to go.
I think you're right on the money, and so glad you kind of went that direction with it. I think we have the ability to not have an opinion about things. We can choose to not have an opinion, and I think so many times, though, it's easy to try to have an opinion about everything, and really just the same way with your team. Are you really gonna be great at everything? Probably not. You're gonna have some areas that you excel, some areas where you're a little bit weaker that you try to focus on, but if you're gonna really care about something and hold a standard on something, I think we have to be prepared today to give them the why behind it. If I want everybody to wear a certain kind of shoe, I better be able to tell them why, because inevitably the question's going to come, Coach, why do we have to do that? I don't like that shoe. This is funny. This happened to me this summer. So taking over Midway in late May, got really started going down here in June to work out the guys just a couple days a week preparing for TABC. Well, where I'd been before for 12 years, we had some standards set that after a long time, it was just it was a machine. They just did it. There wasn't any questioning why or anything like this. Well, now everything's new. And so I have to check myself like, okay, what do I really care about that? We've always done it this way, but what's the point? And a small example would be shirts under uniforms. I've always liked it personally to where we look a little bit like a unit, like a team, and they can wear an undershirt. It has to match the color of the jersey, but nothing outside the sleeve. So one of our first workouts at Midway, I kind of explained that standard of when we practice and when we play games, TABC or regular games, this is how we're going to go. And one of our juniors came over to me one on one and said, Coach, I really like to wear a shirt with a short sleeve shirt with sleeves. And he said, I'm really very comfortable. I don't know if I've played a game without those, without something like that. And I was confronted in that moment with, okay, how much do I really care about that? Because this was my first opportunity with this player to show how rigid am I, how much am I willing to deposit into their account, or am I just always going to withdraw and have this hard line? And so I got everybody, and I don't know if this is right or wrong, but I got everybody together and I said, listen, this player and I just had a conversation and he's very comfortable with this. So how about ask the group this question. How about we do this? You have a choice. You can go no shirt underneath. You can go sleeveless, or you can wear a short sleeve shirt. Do one of those three things. Does that work for the group? And they were all, yeah, I'm good with that. So we outlawed long sleeve shirts or arm sleeves or anything like that, but they had a choice of three things. I'm good with any of those three. And I think, Coach, what I'm doing right now is I'm patting myself on the back because that's growth. Because I think
Oh,
30-year-old me would have been like, no, listen, I just told you what we're doing. And you questioning or asking why is a complete act of defiance. But I don't believe that to be true anymore. And you know what? I don't really care about that. So they have a choice of three. And within that freedom, they're still doing what I want.
yeah. No, that's great. And I think, you have to adapt as a coach. Like we said, like you can't be, hey, this is what it is, black and white. I'm not going to change anything. You know, Kind of to add to that, every time in recruiting, we get asked this question, I don't care what they wear on their feet. Doesn't bother me. It can be pink, it can be green, it can be black, it doesn't matter. Now, if my AD tells me, hey, Grant, I want all you guys to wear Under Armour, that's completely different. But if it's my discretion, that's not important to me. I want them to feel good, to play good, to have confidence, you know, and it's not important to me. It's just not. Now, being in the building half an hour before the practice is important to me. So that's something that we're going to emphasize every single day. In fact, we will chart when you get in the building, just because whenever you transfer, again, I want you to understand what that level is. I've been at that level, and you can't walk into a workout 3 minutes before it begins with your shoes untied and expect to have a good day. That's just not going to happen at that level. It may happen at the lower level, junior high or something like that, but it's not going to happen at high school or college or anything like that. So that's something like that. Again, I don't care what they wear. It's not important to me. And I've worked for some people where, hey, that would drive them crazy. But to me, it's just not that important. It's not.
We got to ask the question of, is what we're asking them to do, does that lead to excellence or winning or winning? Because the color of their shoe, in my opinion, probably won't help us score anymore either way. I don't know what, short sleeve, no shirt. I don't know what that does. Showing up early, though, that does lead to excellence and winning. So our culture, our standards, the things that we require of them, I think we'll get more buy-in, less questioning, less resistance if we can help them see this leads to winning. This leads to you showing up and being your very, very best every day.
It's a lifelong skill too, for that matter,
Yeah.
because one
Yeah.
day they're going to quit bouncing. And I mean, but and our guys will get sloppy with it. It'll turn to 22, 20 minutes, and then you know, I'll have to emphasize it again, and then we'll get back to it. But that's the part that I'm not going to move because I know what it does for people, and two, for our level, this is like a lot of the times where this is the first time in these players' lives that they're going to look across the line and the kid that they're playing against is a little bit better than them at a few things. And that's a hard player to swallow sometimes, but that's the truth. That's a fact. So, how do you close that gap? And we talk about just the process of everything, and being on time and being early is a big part of that. Preparation. How do you prepare for a game? You know, all that stuff. But I mean, it's completely new for guys. Like you can't just waltz in, 3 minutes before and not stretch and expect to have a good day. So we try to emphasize that early and often. And I just think it's a big skill.
And just for coaches out there that you know, do hold standards and do want the guys to show up a certain way, a certain day, I just want to encourage them. I had the pleasure of getting to go to the Baylor practice. I'm back in Waco, and Coach Drew is still there, so there's just this connection that I'm able to have there, which is really fun. But I was able to go watch their last practice before they leave from Germany. I had my notebook out, and one of the things that jumped out at me right off the bat was all of them wearing practice gear, all the same color. And then I started, okay, let's look at shirts because I've kind of in this mode of what standards now at Midway do I want to have. They all were white, the colors, and then it was either a sleeveless or a short sleeve. There were no long sleeves. There was no different colors. And then I went down and everybody was wearing white socks and they were below the calf. And then any color shoe they wanted. That was like their thing. It seemed to me that's where they get to have control and do what they want and wear what they're comfortable with. So I'm not saying that Baylor is the best in the country, the best program in the country, but they're up there. And so to me and you and anybody else, if they can hold those players to standards, whatever they are, you can see that there was some type of coordination within the group. Man, we can do that for sure then.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, how we do it is you just have to wear your practice gear. You have got to wear your practice gear. Like if it's
Let's start there. Let's start there.
I mean, like you got to wear it. We don't have a gigantic, equipment budget. I'm not in the Big
Sure.
12,
Yeah.
but we got a good one for our level. And, you know, the only thing like that we emphasize is you have to wear your practice gear and you can't wear long sleeves. And my pet peeve, and it happens every year, is when guys try to flip around their practice jersey and the name's on the back. We nip that the butt really, really quick. Like everybody's going to wear it the same. We're not going to do stuff that way. So every year somebody tries that multiple times, and it's just an easy conversation. Hey, flip that over. It's not how we do things. We're going to look the same. That's how we're going to do it. So ours is just practice gear, really.
I love the pet peeves idea. And Mike Neighbors, I had the honor of getting to have a hoops talk with him a few years ago. and he has a long list of pet peeves, and which I don't think that's uncommon. I think we all have them. But then maybe a good exercise is to let's get our pet peeves down and make sure again, do they lead to winning? Do they Are they intentionally stealing fun away from the guys? Like for years at Grapevine Faith, I think I might have made a mistake with warm up handshakes in line. Like when the guy gets introduction, he comes out and there's a guy at the end that does some handshake. I never let them do that. And after 1 year, I asked the seniors, hey, write down 3 things, something that you like that we did that we need to keep doing, something that we do that we shouldn't do anymore, and something that you wish we did. And again, it was handshakes and warm up lines. And to me, there was this feeling of that's not what serious programs do. I don't know where I got that from. I, I don't know why I think that way, but it's like you feel that way.
Well, I mean, that's not something like that I control, but I could
Yes.
definitely how that could really hurt a coach at a time. I could see that for sure.
Yeah. Like, what's the point? Like, why was I holding back on that? Like, do I really care about it? Or is it just my insecurity of wanting to look like or appear like I'm a serious coach with a serious program? Or
Yeah.
can I let them have fun in that area? But he had this long line of pet peeves, a long list, but that's good. But one thing he did is he shared those with his players. And then he asked his players to share their pet peeves with him. And coach, I think that's something that we need to know. We want
Yeah.
our players to know the things that wear us out, and we need to know the things that wear them out. And then we got to make that decision. Okay, can I let some of these things go? Doing things that are ruining their experience? And do I care enough to let those go?
We only have a few. One, you'll love this. This is probably new. I don't know if you. So one that we have is you cannot text anyone on our staff, "Hey, coach," because 9 times out of 10, that's not going to be a good text. You say, "Hey, coach, can I leave a little bit early for this class?" All in one text, not just, "Hey, coach." And then an hour passes by and you're in class and the coach is sitting there just thinking, like, what is he going to ask? What is he going to ask? Because it's usually not good. So it's go ahead and just ask the question all at once. And that's something that we talk about early. And again, it happens and we address it and we change it. So that's one for
I
you.
never thought about that. I never thought about you're so right though. The
How
hey
many
coach
times,
texts
how
are
many,
not good.
"Hey, coach"? It's not, "Hey, coach, you're doing a great job." Like,
Hey,
"Hey,
coach,
coach,
I just want to let you I hope you have a great day. I
I
can't wait for
love my team."
practice.
Always, "Hey, coach, my internet's out in the dorm." Hey, I mean, it's always something. So let's
Hey,
go ahead.
coach, I've been throwing up all morning. Just so you know, I won't be there. Yeah.
I'm going to be
Yeah.
late. Yeah. Let's just go ahead and address it all at once, which it happens. But yeah. So we emphasize that early. So that's something that, I try, and then too, this is hard actually in today's world. This is hard, but we don't let our players put on D&D on their phone. Can't be do not disturb. Can't be on that at any time. If you're going to live on campus here, you, you have to have that off. And that is a coach's worst nightmare is D&D because you're trying to get a hold of them and you can't get a hold of them because it's not ringing, you know? So we have that talk early as well.
I love those 2 pet peeves right there. I think there's a lot of coaches that are probably like I just did, writing those down. I'm gonna circle that and highlight those because a little bit different with the second one at the high school level. They probably are doing that less because
Yeah.
parents also need to get in touch with them. And then we could all, even though we don't want to do this, we could just go straight to the parent. Hey, can't get a hold of Johnny, will you go get him out of his room or whatever? But for you, I think that's one that a lot of coaches will resonate with.
You're in charge of them away from home. And I'm a parent. I have 2 beautiful kids. And I think, I mean, I take that role extremely seriously, extremely
Yeah.
serious. So if I need to get a hold of you on campus, usually it's not because I want to ask you how the weather is. Usually it's because we need you to do something, or like hand in homework, work assignment, or, come get treatment or whatever it is. We got to be able to get a hold of you. So, and that's something that we have to, again, like we put it out there early, but it is a month-long process. Like, I mean, it's going to happen 12 times. And again, you pick what's important in your program. Well, that's two things that are very important in our program. And it may seem little, but those things are important to me, so they're important to the team.
And those little things become big things. I think the
Absolutely.
way that, like, part of one of our standards is excellence, and we always talk about excellence with our communication. And I have a 24-hour rule with text messages. They need to respond to me. If it's a question, like I send out Tuesday texts to current and past players every Tuesday. I got that from Buzz Williams. And it's just most of the time, it's just a motivational quote. Hope you have a great day, something like that. If there's no question, I love a thumbs up. I love a fist bump. I love a thank you, whatever. But I don't require that. But if it's a question and if it's information that I need back, then yeah, there's a 24-hour. I'm thinking of even moving that to 12 hours because maybe I don't usually do it too late at night, but let's just say at 9:30, I send out a text. It's pretty important. And for some reason, they're already asleep. Probably not happening, but maybe. Well, then by 9:30 the next morning, we need to have that answered. And like you said, these things, everything we've talked about, you can take basketball out of it. These are life skills. If their employer, if my AD texts me and I don't get back to them for 24 hours, man, that's a withdrawal from that account. And I want to keep that account full. And I want to keep, and really what we're talking about is trust. With the D&D, lack of trust. With the, hey, coach, pause forever, lack of trust. And we want to keep that trust up between us.
That's a great point. That's a great point. You're right. Exactly right.
Coach, I'm moving to a new school with assistant coaches. They've both been within the Midway program, but they're kind of moving up in roles, and they haven't been around me that much. And a few weeks ago, one of the guys just point blank in the office said, "Hey, coach, what are some of the responsibilities? What are some of the things that you would like for me to be in charge of and do?" And it caught me off guard. As a guy that I've been at my former school, they were all part-time coaches, and I'm so thankful for the time they were able to give. But they were coming from their jobs, and so I just kinda did everything, and so now I'm in this role where I'm gonna have these 2 guys with me every day in the period. We have a conference period together. We're gonna be doing life together even more now. What are some ways that you delegate with your coaches, kinda divvy up responsibilities with them?
Yeah, you know, I think that's huge for our level as well. Just like the players are trying to move on, our staff is trying to move on as well.
Yeah.
And I think it's the head coach's responsibility to help with that. I do if they do a good job. You know, I think that's extremely important. And I mean, we've had a lot of success with that. I have 8 D1 coaches who used to work under me. So I think that's important. And I think how you do that is you create ownership with it too. So you say, hey, you're in charge of like out of bounds plays, for example. Okay. Shouting out of bounds plays. Well, that coach is going to do that at a really high level because you are giving him ownership. And if we're not prepared on the out of bounds plays, clearly it's your fault because I gave you that responsibility. And you have to trust your staff. You can't do everything. It is absolutely impossible. You know this too in a game. In a game, half the time, you're just watching the ball. You're following the ball the whole game. So there's stuff that you don't see.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
think that, creating ownership with guys, if you trust them, you got to be able to trust them. But if you're hiring them, usually you do trust them and it helps them grow. It helps them improve. When I was at Northwest Florida, I got to run the defense. And that was big. That helped prepare me for a head job. It just did. And it created opportunities for coach to worry about who's tired, who needs to get in. He's an offensive guy as well, and all that. I think it helped our team. I think it really did, because I knew if we weren't prepared, it was on me. Like, that's my job. And I think you got to put your ego aside with that. I think it'll help you be a better coach if you learn how to delegate. When I was a young head coach, it was hard to do. It was hard to do because I wanted to do everything. And it's impossible to do that because eventually one thing's going to lack on that. It's gonna be hard. It's gonna drop down in production. It just is. So, and I think too, you need to let your coaches exactly know what to do. There's no gray area. It's black and white. Okay. It's not like, oh, coach, I didn't know. No, it's here's what's expected. Okay. Here's what your job is. And, you get graded on that. And that's what life is. And again, I'm trying to prepare them for the 4-year level. So at that level, you get scouts, and you have to learn how to talk in front of a group. You have to learn how to put together an edit with film. You know, you have to learn how to know, okay, that's a little too much information. I need to erase a few of these things. It's too much. You only learn that if you try it. So when I try to help our guys get jobs, I can say, hey, he had all the scouts on the defensive side, and he's a phenomenal part of it. He did a great job. Yeah. So when he gets the job, it's not going to be just a complete disaster. He's going to have experience doing that. And this as well. It takes time to learn how to talk in front of a group. It does.
You need reps. Yeah, for sure.
I mean, everybody thinks it's easy and just get in there. Like, no, those guys are reading you. You have to figure out when it's too much, too little. You have to pick what's important, especially in today's world where it's attention spans are not that long. So I think it's kind of your responsibility as a leader to empower them and to get them better. And I think too.
Yeah, go ahead.
I mean, how many times have you talked to a friend and they're like, man, coach, I don't have any say in the practice plan. I just show up to practice. Like, I don't really think that's a good organization, because you want to meet every time prior to practice. Here, you're in charge of this drill. You're in charge of this drill. I want you to take this. I want you to watch this. I want you to watch offensive rebound. Who's crashing, who's not, and your staff will take ownership with that. They really will. Like, I have not ever been like, man, he's not prepared to do that. Like, that's not ever happened to me. And I think you have to coach him up on it, but they can do it. That's why you hired him in the first place, And I think we've all had people in our career that have helped us with that. I know I have. And I think it's just the responsibility you have, just like a player. You got to move these guys on, man. And I think I'll put what we have done against anybody in the country with that. And I think that's a big, big responsibility that a head coach has.
So many golden nuggets there. A few things that I kind of jotted down to go through it. First, and you just nailed it right at the end, but first is hire what you want. As a coach, do you want guys that want to be head coaches? If you do want that, and in my opinion, it's a good thing to do, hire guys like that, because they will be hungry and they will want to do more. And the more that you give them, the more you can take off your plate, then the more that they'll be able to, or they'll want that. Or if you want a guy that that does not have that aspiration and just wants to be on staff with you for the long haul, man, Doug Ash comes to my mind. He was Dave Bliss's assistant coach for 30 years. 30 years. He never wanted to be a head coach. He just wanted to be with him. And I would imagine that was super valuable for Coach Bliss to have that type of continuity. So hire what you want. And that may go to what you're looking to hire. I think you nailed it with ego. I think sometimes we lie to ourselves and say, well, I'm going to do everything. My voice is the only one because I just really want it to be done the way that I want. Well, I think that's ego talking. The fact that you think that the way you communicate or you teach or you view the game is the best way and that anybody else doing it won't have the same effect or there'll be a wasted time. Man, I got to get over myself. I gotta trust other people. I got it, and one thing that Coach Drew said, I got to do the hoops talk with him. He was my first one 4 years ago, and he said the way that coaches treat each other, talk to each other, trust each other, players are watching that
Yeah.
and they're going to mimic the way that if a coach and let's just say we watched in last year's March Madness, this past year's March Madness, assistant coach come behind this guy and him mouth shut up to him. If we could see that on TV, players are seeing that too. So I think we have to trust each other that and instead of having ego or pride, maybe that pride is the fear of losing, the fear of it not being what we think is the best. Let that go. And then Dwayne Silver, legendary coach down in this area, said it best. Coaches want to work. Give them things to do, just like you said.
Yeah. Yeah. And too, I think it also, creates relationships with that coach and the players. I mean, if he knows that that coach is in charge of the offense, it's going to make your job easier because he's going to go to that coach and ask a question. And if he's in charge of it, like he's going to have the answer. And it's going to create just some ownership with him and the player. But it's going to make the head coach's job easier because you can't do everything. It's just impossible at an elite level. You know what I mean? Like you
Yeah.
can do it,
Yeah.
but there's going to be something that's going to be lacking. It just is.
Love that point that you can't do everything, you can't see everything. And I think so often even if we have one assistant, 2, 3, uh, at the Baylor practice yesterday, I think they had 6 assistants, and I counted 9 managers, and some of them were grad assistants that were former college players. There were so many bodies on the floor that
It's an
it was
army.
fun, though. It was fun. It was fun. Yeah, it was fun to see their organization, and then for me, in my notebook, writing down, "Okay, how could I do this?" Right? And so instead of looking out at the practice and be like, "Well, of course they do it. They can do it like that. They have these bodies." Sure, but pare it down, simplify it, and make it work for what you have. But because we can't see everything or do everything, I think we coach as if we're select coaches. When I was coaching for Darren Williams Elite, it was me and 12 dudes every day. That was it. And coach, I had to coach everything. And I was trying to have a one-on-one talk with every player, every possession. It was exhausting. And let's not act like we're in that environment when if we have one guy, two guys, one thing that Coach Drew did really well is I wrote this down in my notes yesterday. I said, he's the CEO of this practice. They started off all together and they had some cool celebrations. And then they split into skill work. And his 2 or 3 main assistants took each end and he just floated back and forth, giving a little thing, clapping, getting some touches. And I thought, man, like, what a great example for all of us. Now, if it's just you and your team, yeah, you better come. You better do movement prep. You better get ready to have that sweat equity in because you're going to be probably even jumping in. But there's other ways to do it too.
Yeah, there is. And I think, like I said, I think it helped. I mean, he's had a lot of guys like who have, grown into head coaches on his staff. I think that helps the Baylor brand. I think that helps the program. I mean,
Yeah.
it's going to
Yeah.
hire other people. It just is. You can say, hey, I've had 3 assistant coaches who are now at the D1 level, but that's big. Like you're going to get a better guy. And I think too, just the human element of it is like, we are all in the foxhole together. This is a foxhole. And, your job is to get guys going and to jump over that hole and to attack. And if they know that you trust them, I think they're going to push harder and fight harder. And like I say, it's not ever been a disaster. I'm like, hey, you're in charge of this. And it was just, man, that was bad. It's
Yeah,
never
you're fired.
been,
Yeah, you're never again. That was your last time.
but hey, but here's what I need. I need A, B, and C. Okay. And so you know exactly what I need. You may be scared at first to do that, but I haven't ever been like, man, he's not prepared to do that. That's not ever happened to me.
Would you say that allowing your assistants more time to teach and to coach and to have ownership during practice, would you say that that shows more confidence and security in who you are as a coach?
I think it does. Yeah, I think we've all been in practices where there's one voice. And I'm not trying to say that's the wrong way to do things. It's not. There's a lot of people that have been really successful that way. But you may not be able to relate to a player that day, you know, and your staff may be able to. So give them a chance to do that, you know, and it's going to help your energy level. And I mean, we've all been there before. Like if you have the flu or you're coming off having the flu or something, like you just don't have it today. Hey, coach, I need to hand this off to you today, man, because I don't have the normal energy that I normally have. And if he's prepared to do that because he's done it for 3 months, then he's going to kill it and you're going to have a good practice. If he hasn't done it before and it's completely new, then it's going to be bad. Your team's not going to get better, you know? So, yeah, absolutely. I think it does.
I think that's a great nugget. That it's inevitably going to happen where you get sick or at your level, you have to go to a donor meeting. You have to go to something else where your boss says you have to be there, but the team can't just stop existing. When that moment comes, you're going to wish that you had given them more reps. And if you have done that, then you feel completely at ease, at peace. I had two great assistant coaches. One was with me for 6 years at Faith. It took me, unfortunately, I think longer to give him more responsibility than it should have. But there was a point, especially in year 3, 4, 5, and 6, where he was my defensive guy, if it was a defensive moment in a timeout, you got it. You know, hand him the clipboard, you got it. And maybe it gives me opportunity to take a player one-on-one and have that great talk during a timeout without everybody else standing around. But man, I got sick and he took 2 days of practices and it was awesome. And here's another thing too is you and they hear our voice a lot. And you got a great voice. I don't know what mine sounds like to other people, but no matter how great your voice is, it's going to be nice for them to hear something different, a different perspective. And then what it does too, I think, is it helps when you come back around or when you jump in, then it's almost like everything stops because now you're speaking but you haven't been speaking the whole time. I think the change up or the variability with that throughout, I think that's huge.
Yeah. I mean, like how we do scouts is I give my staff personnel. So they do personnel, just them. And I may chime in like from time to time and say, hey, he's a really good driver. Okay, but he can't go left. All right. So I may chime in some. That's their show right there, personnel. And it gives them a lot, a lot of ownership in the scouting process. And then I'll give them, you know, 2 or 3 clips or something like that, what they're going to run, how we're going to guard it. And then I kind of chime in there and then I'll do kind of the larger strokes. Like, here's the keys of the game. All right. We got to we got to push the pace in this game. Like, we got to push it. Like, we cannot let them walk the ball up the floor. And then I think your team will be like, oh, yeah, coach made a huge emphasis on that because he didn't talk the whole time. You know, he popped in at the end and here are the 3 keys to win the game. Have to push the pace, have to win the war on the glass, and can't turn the ball over. Like, that's 3 things like that we're going to do this game to win. So, and I think it helps grow your staff as well. And it makes your job easier because you know personnel. You're going to know the personnel. Like, you're going to know the personnel that he's a shooter, he's a driver. You're going to know that. But it helps give you more energy if you're not having like to relay that every time you play a game. You know, it gives you a chance also like to look around the room and see who's paying attention. You know, if some guys aren't paying attention, if they're on the phone, you can call them out on it. You know, if you're talking, trying to do their presentation, it's going to be hard to do that. It just is. It's going to be hard, like to get back on track after you do that. So, yeah. So it kind of, it creates an ownership, and I think it really makes your job easier as a head coach. I really believe that.
I think I've done a decent job of trying to coach players over the years. I don't know how well I've done of coaching my coaches over the years. And probably a big area for growth for me is I would hate, and maybe this is what I need to do. Maybe I need to reach out to my former coaches and ask them, in what ways did I help you to be your very, very best? And then maybe at what ways did I not, or did I let you down? In ways did I not help you grow? What are some things that you didn't get to do that you wish you would have more, or ways that you felt like I held you back? That may be a very valuable thing to ask your former coaches that I need to do, but I definitely think coaching them up, because they are extensions of us. And that way, we're all speaking the same language.
Yeah.
We're all coaching the same way. But like you said at the very beginning, these guys want to be head coaches. And I love the way you said where your players go, that shows something about your program. But where your coaches go, that shows something too.
Absolutely, it does. Absolutely, it does. I 100% believe that. 100% believe that. And I think the most important thing you can do is you let them know exactly what's expected. It's black or white. There's no gray area, because we've all been with
Guys, yeah,
you're like, Grant, you didn't get that out of bounds call. Well, it's not my job to get the out of bounds call. It's his job. Why are you yelling at me? So you know exactly what is expected of you. Here are the 3 or 4 things that you're doing. Boom, boom, boom. And that's it. And I think more than anything, it creates ownership, and you'll be surprised because they want to do a great job with it,
yeah.
like they want a job with it. If they're not doing a good job, then I think you have to bring them in, teach them, try to correct it, try to get it better.
And before we make a judgment call on the work ethic of our coaches, we better make sure that we've given them clear objectives that they need to
Yes.
do every day. But I think the opposite is true, though, probably more of, we want our assistant coaches to work hard. We want them to be proactive. We want them to see a need and fill a need. We want them to do all those things, but we're really just hoping that it gets done. Like, I've got my practice plan. I know what I'm going to say. Hey, you guys just figure out ways to add value. And maybe some of them they'll mimic us a little bit, or they'll already have enough confidence or experience to do it. But if not, we're going to get guys that are starting to wonder, why am I here? What's my job? What am I doing? And from the outwardly, that may look like they're lazy, or they may look like, man, they really don't care that much. Possibly that's true, but probably they don't know what to do. It's the exact same thing with players and communication. We want players to talk, talk, talk. Guys, you got to communicate, but they probably don't know actually what to say. So once we teach them what to say, then we can hold them. I've seen the select coach walk down practice on the sideline, talk, 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 talk. That's okay. But ask your players, what do I want you to be saying right now? If there's blank stares, then you yelling talk doesn't do anything. Going back to coaches, if they're not given objectives and clear tasks, then we're setting them up for failure or to appear lazy, in my opinion.
I agree. I agree completely. That's a great point you made about talk. I mean, what do you want to talk about? You know what I mean? But what do you want them to say? Like, just scream words out? We can do that all day.
That's right. Yeah.
And I think too, it helps you guys be on the same page with the verbiage of your team, your program. How do you call out ball screens? What are your keywords on closeouts? what are your keywords in transition defense, because we've all played and worked for all different programs, and there's all different types of languages that go along with that. So it helps you guys. Hey, this is our language here at Navarro. This is what it is. This is how we talk about hedging a ball screen. This is what we use to ice a ball screen. So you guys are all talking about this same thing. We call it ice and ball screens. Okay, a lot of people call it blue. Well, ours is ice. So if you're screaming out blue, 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 like they're probably not gonna know what that is. So I think it helps you guys get on the same page with that.
This has been such a great talk. Before I let you go, we're going to do the speed round. These are going to be quick questions. First thing that pops in your head, just blurt it right out. You ready?
Okay.
Okay. Favorite ice cream flavor?
Cookies and cream.
Greatest shooter of all time?
Ray Allen.
Good one. Good one. Do you stand up or sit down more in games?
Stand up. I can't sit down.
Always been a stand-up guy?
Always. My whole life I've paced. It's a very bad habit. I pace when I'm watching a TV show. It's bad. And I have plantar fasciitis as well. So I have to wear on clouds and stuff because it's a bad habit, but I pace. Yeah.
Coach, actually, I'm going to tell you, sitting may actually help you. Your feet won't hurt as much.
Tell myself that every year. And I need to tell myself again, you're right. No, you're right. It would make it easier.
I've been impressed during this hoops talk, man. Almost an hour and 30 minutes. You've been sitting there. That's impressive.
Yeah, no, trust me, it is. There's a couple of times I just wanted to sprint to the door and back, but I didn't.
Top 3 dinner guests that you'd like to have any time period.
Oh boy. Red Auerbach, JFK. I'm a big JFK. James Gandolfini, Tony Soprano.
Nice. Coach, that's a new one right there. Yeah, that's a good dinner. Best basketball movie of all time.
He Got Game.
Jesus Shuttlesworth. Solid. Do you text with one thumb or two?
One.
Me too. Thanks, man. I appreciate it. It takes us longer and it's more effort, but I just can't figure out the two. I can't.
It's too long to do one.
So we're both in Texas. For high school, shot clock or no shot clock?
Shot clock.
What's your reasons for it?
I think it would shrink the gap between, not a lot, but I think it would shrink the gap a little bit between the haves and the have-nots. I think it'd make the games a little more competitive. And I think it would help prepare guys for the collegiate level.
Like that. Do players sit the rest of the first half with 2 fouls?
Depends on the situation. And it depends how
That's
good
a good answer. There you go. It's not black and white. There's some gray.
Regional tournament. Yeah, it's a lot. Yeah. Depends on depth or situation. But usually, yes. But, if we're that desperate, no.
Favorite holiday?
Halloween.
Do you dress up?
I don't. I have 2 kids and they dress up and I just.
Yeah, that's a good time. Yeah.
The change of the seasons, the fall, basketball's start, the hot weather's kind of over.
Yep.
It smells in the air, a certain smell. I can't really explain it, but Halloween, yeah.
What book would you give someone?
Look For Me There is a great book about, I'm drawing a blank on his name, but it's the anchor, Tim. He passed away really early at MSNBC or NBC. Tim, gosh, I'm talking. It was back in the early 2000s. Anyways,
Look For Me There.
Look For Me There. His son wrote the book. Tim, I'm gonna get on my computer real quick. Hang on. This is bothering me. I can't believe I am forgetting this guy's name.
If it's easier, I can just look it up on my phone real quick. Well, because you're on your phone, so
Tim Russert. So
okay.
Tim Russert was an NBC, ABC reporter that passed away really early. He was like the Tom Brokaw of that. His Luke wrote a book. I lost my dad a few years back, and for anybody that is going through that or will go through that, it's a great perspective and it's a great read. So look for me there, and then Strength to Strength. It's about the difference between crystallized intelligence and some other type of intelligence. I forget the word, but it's really good. It's by Arthur C. Miller. He's a professor of leadership at Harvard. Strength
Awesome.
to Strength. You'd love it. It's
Okay.
really good.
Yeah, I'm going to check that out. And you know what? I put out a book list before from people that I've had talks with, and then I ask them their top 2 or 3, and I've had enough. There's been a gap. I need to add more to it, and I'll be putting yours on for sure, because that's good. 2 more, Coach. If this was your if this was your last year coaching, what would you do more of?
That's a good one. I'd take some risks that I usually don't take, probably in game, or I would maybe experiment, try to play that different way,
Yeah.
for like a game or two. We play each game completely different. Depending on how we need to win the game, but just probably take more risks and try different things, and just really, even journal the last year, and kind of write down, just so you don't forget what it feels like,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
and you go get it. So those 2 things.
That's a good. I like that journaling idea. As my first year somewhere, there's probably going to be a lot of things that go well, but then a lot of things where there's a swing and a miss, and I need to remember that and learn from it. And so I think journaling and
Each year we go back and I write, like the things I would have done completely differently, things that worked and things that didn't work, and then things I want to emphasize moving forward, just because I'll forget, So
yeah,
I'm the king of having just random stuff written on a piece of paper or the board or something like that, and only I know what it means, but it's important to me.
that's one. In basketball, as a player, who is the GOAT?
Jordan, not
Of
even close.
course, not even
Not-
close. Yeah, love that. Coach, this has been awesome, man. I really enjoyed getting to know you better, learn more about you as a coach and how you run your program. You gave me an hour and a half of your time, and I'm just really honored by that.
Yeah, I greatly appreciate it, man. You guys do a great job, man. Like you've kind of been part of my weekly, playlist for long. And even if it's a high school coach that's retired, or something like that, administrator, I
Yeah.
learn 1 or 2 things every time I listen to you guys. And you guys just do a really, really good job, man. And best of luck at the new job. So best of luck, guys.
Thank you. I'd love to have you come down to Waco and stop by if you're there.
Yeah. We're like an hour and a half from Waco, hour 20 from Waco.
Yeah. Yeah, that's kind of a cool part about being in Central Texas is I think especially from, a lot of these Texas high school and college coaches that I've been able to create a relationship with. A little this Zoom or video thing is nice, but it's better. It's better in person. If anybody wanted to stop by, your practice, or if if they wanted to reach out and ask, because we didn't get into a lot of X's and O's style play or anything like that, or if they wanted to talk more about building culture in less than 2 months, what's a good way for them to get in contact with you?
Uh, Twitter and probably Instagram. Like Instagram is Grant Mcmillan 3, and Twitter is Grant underscore Mcmillan 3. But it's McMillan. I have a few rings that my name is spelled wrong. It is not McMillan. It is McMillan.
Sir. Well, Coach, this was awesome, man. Thank you so much for your time.
Awesome, man. Appreciate you guys. Thanks. Have a good rest of the summer.
Thank you for checking out today's episode. Please take a moment to subscribe to this podcast, share it with your fellow coaches, and find us on social media for what's coming up next on the JAMODI Podcast. It's just a matter of doing it.